My name's Guy Kesterman. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 25 years, and tonight I'm unboxing the brand new Santa Cruz Stigmata. So, no stranger to long-term use of a Stigmata. It's been a bike that's been around for a long old time, originally a cross bike. I had the Generation 2 before this for one of my favourite bikes ever, to be honest. And then spent a lot of time on the previous generation as well, doing King Alfred's Way on that bike, tested a load of different new SRAM group sets on it, including the new Explorer kit, so like the Rudy fork and the reverb axis dropper post. And that's what this bike comes equipped with. As you can see, it's going to be a proper build-up. Handlebars are separate. We've got that. I think this is the AXS reverb seat post. So this is the RockShox wireless seat post that works as both a dropper and a suspension seat post. Really neat bit of kit. Not light, but very, very clever piece of kit. We've even got a little fender there for the suspension fork. And I'm guessing this will be, power pack for the SRAM AXS batteries because it's fully wireless. Then we've got a triangular box of things. Find out what's in there. I'm guessing saddle and stuff. We've got a pair of Reserve 25 gravel wheels with Maxxis Rambler tyres in a 700x45C. Not the biggest fan of the Maxxis Rambler. Grippy compound, so it doesn't roll very fast, but doesn't grip particularly well either. These wheels have been hand built by David OF. They're all built in Santa Cruz. Bikes are all put together in Santa Cruz as well. But it looks like we've got a 42 block on there, Explorer, 12 speed, and it's running DT Swiss 350 hubs, so good solid workhorse hubs, not the lightest wheel option, and they do it with what is it, 180s or 240s anyway, the lighter hub. But we'll go into a good close-up on the bike once it's put together. But as you can see, those rims have got the extra spoke pontoons, reinforcing them there, and they're fully lifetime warranted against any sort of damage, as is the frame, which is what I'm going to pop out right now. Turn around. So this is they only do a CC carbon frame, so that's Santa Cruz's top level carbon fibre. And it currently only comes in this brick red option. So I'm going to peel it off this cardboard, get the seat post in, get it in the stand, and then we'll do a little build-up video from there. So there we go. Weight with the rear brake in, with the cardboard on the glove box compartment and rear axle for this large is 1610 grams, and the brake weighs 160 grams, so that takes it down to 1450, which I guess if they're weighing a medium and they're saying that's 1380, that's pretty much bang on the weight. So it's certainly not a lightweight frame compared to something like Canyon Grail or a bunch of other bikes that are well under the kilo mark for a gravel frame. And it also means it's significantly heavier than Santa Cruz's own highball hardtail. But as you can see, 185 grams of that weight comes from these two neoprene pouches for tools, pump and tube, and the lid for the glove box, which is the internal storage system that Santa Cruz are bringing in right across their range of trail bikes, and as you can see, now their gravel bike. If you look inside, you can see there's internal cable routing as well, which on this fully wireless AXS version, is a bit redundant. So you've got internal storage, which actually, it's a really well put together spring-loaded catch on that. Really nice design. So that's a good solid piece of weight adding on. I think that's 93 grams on the scales. And of course, you've got a lifetime warranty on the frame, which you won't get on super light gravel bikes. But just looking at the major details that change for this year, you've got a SRAM UDH gear hanger, so it can take a T-type transmission. Good to see a threaded bottom bracket in there. And then coming up the front, you're still getting external cable routing. None of that internal cable routing nonsense going on any Santa Cruz in the near future. And what you can't see is you're getting significantly longer reach on the frame, and you're also getting a 69.5 degree head angle right across the board, right through from the small to the extra large bikes. And the suspension is also corrected, so it will take a Rudy 40mm travel suspension fork or the standard rigid fork, which has been lengthened to match the length of that suspension fork. So while I've been putting it together, some nice little details have cropped up, which are worth talking about. For a start, you get specific plugs for the holes that aren't being used on this bike. I mean, it can run with a 2x. It's got a bolt-on front mech mount if you need it, and obviously you can run it cabled as well. But if you don't run those cables, then it's this Santa Cruz supply little rubber bungs to sit in the holes, and they even give you spare threaded inserts for the rear mudguard mounts. So that's just a really nice touch to keep things clean and stop water getting in. Plus, while the fact I'm running wireless means I have got 2 redundant sections of cable trunking, the third one there means that although the bike came set up for sort of most of the world's brake routing, with the front brake on the left, if I switch it round to UK routing, with the rear brake on the left, it's dead easy. Just switch that brake hose through that trunking and out that port there without having to fight too much of the internal cable routing. So it's nice and neat at the front there. Plus, as always, super big. As always, massive shout out to SRAM for their little, there's one here, their little connect-to-majig system, which means cables come blanked off, but the way it all threads together and the zero loss hose fixtures inside the levers means that you can put the whole bike together, cut the cables, refit olives, and the brakes still feel absolutely bang on. So no need for a bleed in the middle of the night, which is always a plus. And of course, putting AXS gears on with no cables from the shifters, from the rear mech or the shifters, isn't just an aesthetic bonus, but it just makes setup so much simpler. But I'm going to put the chain on probably in the morning. Just put it in that plastic bag over there with a load of foaming degreaser, just to get the packing grease off it overnight, and then I'll lube it up in the morning and fit it then. And flipping it round, you can see you've got threaded inserts there with a little threaded plug, which you also get spares of for your fender stroke mudguard mounts, depending which country you come from. There's the UDH hanger there in more detail, and Santa Cruz give you a spare as well, which is a really nice touch. But because it's now the universal derailleur hanger, that makes it a lot easier to find the world over. You've got a big chunky chainstay protector there. You've got space for a 42 tooth chainring on the front, or a 3650 if you're running a double. And there you go, that's the glove box compartment without the cardboard over the top of it. So you can see it really does make for a properly big down tube on this bike, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the ride. But while you've got internal storage, Santa Cruz have deliberately kept external storage relatively light. So there's no rack mounts on there. You know, you haven't got a whole load of pig nipple threaded mounts for God knows how many bottles and cages and different accessories. You've just got bottle cage there, bottle cage there, bottle cage on the belly. Don't even get a top tube bag mount, which I'm kind of sad about, because if I do run a bag up there, I definitely prefer it to be bolted on rather than strapped on, because that just looks ugly and risks scratching the paint in a really, really obvious place. But even if you run with the standard rigid fork, that hasn't got an external mounts on it as well. And it's part, you know, Santa Cruz admit it's partly aesthetics, but also they just don't want the extra weight and extra sort of manufacturing complexity of a whole load of extra bolts and the reinforcing the carbon would need to handle those. And having had forks where they've got the bolts on, but they're either badly spaced or badly aligned so you can't use them, I definitely get where they're coming from. One thing I haven't talked about, this RockShox Rudy fork, 40mm travel, 1280 grams. So it is just lighter than a Sid SL, but not by much, and with 60mm less travel. And then you've just got this little lockout or open lever on the top there. And it's actually the first time I've seen this little bolt-on fender for it as well. So that actually takes complete weight, over 1300 grams. So you are adding a lot of weight to get that 40mm of travel. But despite thinking it was going to be shite when I rode it the first time, I was very, very impressed by not only how sensitive and smooth it was over small stuff, which helped reduce fatigue. It also adds a lot of traction and really does help when you're blasting through bigger blocks and rough sections on trails. So we'll just have to see whether that syncs with the rest of the bike really nicely, because obviously I've got that suspension seat post on there as well, or whether, you know, that new fatter down tube does make this Stigmata a little stiffer and less forgiving, but still got those dropped seat stays on the back there, which you first saw on the Highball cross-country hardtail, and they are relatively thin. And the last Stig kind of it was just a super balanced bike. It was very vanilla, really. There was nothing outstanding in terms of geometry like there is with this. It didn't have internal storage. It was just a very, very happy sort of halfway house between a cyclocross race bike and a more confident gravel bike. But the other thing that this bike gains now is up to 50mm tyre clearance if you're running a single ring, or 45mm if you're running a double chain set. So that's capable of taking a much bigger tyre now, and the same would apply if it had a rigid fork in the front. And as well as having a suspension fork and mountain bike influenced geometry, you're even getting a BergTech rear axle. You're even getting a rear axle from the UK. You're even getting a rear axle from UK MTB legends BergTech. Right. Going to dose up the tyres with sealant. And it did actually come with some reserve sealant. But, sorry Santa Cruz, I've seen some really, really weird results with that. Some of it's just gone liquid, some of it's just kind of caked into Play-Doh. So I'm going to stick with me tried and tested PTs and use my standard method of basically doubling the millimetre width in terms of how much sealant I put in there. So for a 45mm tyre like this, it's getting 90mm of sealant. And while I might not be a fan of their reserve sealant, I'm a massive fan of these reserve Fillmore valves, because the amount of air you can rush through them makes pumping up tubeless systems really, really easy. So here we are, that beautiful flat top chain degreased, fitted, running smoothly, brakes adjusted, tyres have held pressure overnight. We've got the axis all synced up, rear mech, seat post, both shifters. Although it wasn't an unexpected piece of drama, the original left-hand shifter wasn't playing ball, so swap that out. Luckily I had a spare. I tried swapping the battery first. This is where it'll work. Oh no, still not working, still dead. Swapped the battery out, but it wasn't having any of it. So then had to swap out that left-hand lever, which means the tape's a little bit ugly on that side. Should probably go back and redo that. Might go back and do that, but it's nice silicone tape. That'll be really grippy when it's wet. It's not too thick. Might need we'll see how it goes. See how smooth it is tomorrow. Might put a thicker one. I've got some thicker lizard skin stuff to put on, as well as other stuff. So I'm going to keep hold of this for as long as possible as a long-term bike. So you are going to see a bunch of changes. I have not fitted the Wahoo mount, but I have fitted the mudguard. We've got the bags ready to go. This one's just got lightweight tube and a pump in. And we've got another lightweight tube there with my Petey's inflator, my Petey's stabber, which just means the multi-tool goes in the back pocket. We have got hammerhead charging, we've got the Hoke pedals ready. And as she stands, this bike weighs in at 9.6 kilos for the large. So it's about 400 grams lighter than the previous Stig I had when that was running rival AXS Explorer. So although the frame is a little bit heavier because of that glove box in there, the force has actually dropped down weight significantly. And there's some nice touches as well in the spec, like that's a tie-railed WTB saddle, so that's only 250 grams there. You know, there's weight saving all the way through, but you know, these are a relatively chunky tyre, 45mm, they're not that light, they're not that tough, you know, they're not reinforced, so we'll see how they hold out tomorrow. But drop the pressure down a bit. It's looks like about 50% on, 50% off-road. Sorry, because what I haven't said is that the event I'm doing tomorrow, debut event for this bike, is the Struggle Borderlands gravel event up in Swaledale at the Dales Bike Centre in Reeth, which is somewhere you'll have seen on Pedaling Pass videos or my Ardrock content. It's the same base point to them, and it's a fantastic area for riding gravel. So I'm really excited to see how this bike does. So, just going to slide these in. Get the long one in first, because having that neoprene sleeve means that nothing rattles around. And to be fair, you know, I've only got the multi-tool in my pocket now, which leaves me plenty of room for snacks and GoPro gear. There's a nice solid lock on as well there. So, I'm just going to fit my Fidlock Petey's bottles on there, get the pedals on, and we're ready to roll tomorrow. So, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A with Nick Craig and Stu from the Dales Bike Centre tonight. If you're up at the event or you're passing through Yorkshire for some reason and you fancy dropping in, I'm sure you'd be welcome in the audience. And, you know, if you are there, please come say hi. It'd be really good to meet some people up there and just chat gravel. And then tomorrow morning I'll be heading out for 100k, 5 serious climbs and what should be some chunky old gravel up in Swaledale on those old mining roads. I'm not going to be doing a Keegan Swanson, who went out before this bike was even released and smashed the course record for unbound 200 miler in America. I'm just going to be riding around with some of my mates, but we are going to do the 100k, so it should be a really good thorough first ride test of this bike. And then, like I said, we'll be keeping it on for longer, maybe making some changes to it, maybe even getting the rigid fork installed on it to save some weight, and just seeing how I get on with another big bout of extended Stig life, because I've really enjoyed the previous 2 incarnations of this bike, but this is something quite different. So interesting to see whether it's kind of next level super capable gravel bike or feels more like a bit of a rubbish mountain bike. It could go either way at this point. But for now, massive thanks massive thanks to Santa Cruz UK for loaning me the bike. Massive thanks to Giro Cycling UK, PE's Torque Nutrition Enduro Bearings, Hebtroco and Crud XL Fenders for supporting the channel, and to my Patreon subscribers who pledge on a monthly basis, and they get early, exclusive and behind the scenes edits as a thank you, and they get all the regular content ad free, so there's less annoying pop-ups unless you include me. But if you can't afford to join me on Patreon just yet, click to subscribe, click for notifications, and give this a thumbs up like, so not only will you be notified when the first ride from Borderlands Gravel comes up, but you'll also be able to see all my other content as I post it on YouTube. But for now, I've been Guy Kesterman on Guy Kes TV, getting the brand new Santa Cruz Stigmata progressive gravel bike ready for its first big day out.